Hey everybody, this is Steve. Today I want to follow up on a promise that I made during the video about smart goal setting, which is to take a follow-on look at the Neuro-Linguistic programming model of well-formed outcomes. I'm going to break the model down for you. I'm going to tell you how you can use it, and perhaps most interestingly of all, I'm going to tell you how a lot of books get this wrong. So hang around for that, because the original context for this model has become blurred over the years by abbreviation. And if you think that well-formed outcomes is just a goal-setting system, if you think it's just another SMART, if you don't realize that it can play a much larger role in the whole process of creating change, then I think I've got something for you which you will find valuable. And doubly hang on, because I've also got something else, which is why some leaders in the field are now calling this model something different now, something which corrects our perception of it. But first, let's start off by breaking the model down. And the first point is to state the outcome in the positive. Now, that doesn't mean to state it optimistically, although there's nothing really wrong with that. It just means stating it in terms of what you do want versus what you don't want. What you want to move towards, not what you want to move away from. For instance, if you want to quit eating chocolate, that's an outcome stated in the negative, stated in terms of what you don't want, the behavior you want to move away from. And whenever you encounter that, you want to flip that around. Okay, so you don't want to eat chocolate anymore. What do you want to do instead? Your direction of motivation can still be away from, but in formulating the outcome, you want to keep reorienting to what you do want rather than what you don't want. The behavior you do want, the behavior that you want to move towards, and not the behavior that you don't. I said behavior a lot there, didn't I? Well, let's just say that's a hint at what's coming later. The reason it's important to frame the outcome in the positive, what we do want versus what we don't, is because we're dealing with hypnotic phenomena here, and the subtle but powerful ways ideas before our mind can unconsciously draw us towards them. Let me explain that with a metaphor. It's a bit like programming your satellite navigation system with a destination of not London. Not only does this mean that you could end up anywhere, including somewhere that you even less want to be, but imagine if part of that satellite navigation programming was prone to failing to compute the word not. No, it's a lot more predictable and precise to program your mind with what you want to move towards, not what you want to move away from. Now, the second part is to check that the outcome can be initiated and maintained by the individual, you. What this means is that the outcome is something that you can own. It means that you can check whether you're on track or off track. And if you're off track, it means that you can vary your behavior to get back on track again. For instance, you can own getting your weight down. You can own changing your habits. You cannot own how people around you change. You cannot own circumstances. So anytime the goal is something like, I want my partner to change, well, it may be a worthy goal, but it's not well formed, because whilst you might be able to influence that, you can't own it. That doesn't mean to say that you can't have it as a goal, by the way. It just means it's not well formed in the context of this model, and that means it's not going to fit well with the processes that follow. Now, the third point is to contextualize the outcome for ecology, and to understand what we mean by that, we actually have to understand what we mean by ecology. And in simple terms, it's like our entire life is a complex ecosystem. And whenever you make a high impact change in any ecosystem, that could have unintended unforeseen negative consequences. For instance, let's say that you want to become a successful author and you want to write your first book, and you get yourself highly motivated to do so, and you lock yourself away writing, not eating, not sleeping, ignoring the emotional needs of your wife and your kids, and they start to become estranged. Is that really going to work out for you? Is that really how you want that to play out? If it's not, then you might want to add some context to the outcome, to add some shape to what you will do, what you won't do, and when, so that the ecosystem overall is protected. Now, the process of contextualizing for ecology can be the most time-consuming part of working with well-formed outcomes, so don't rush it. It's because a failure to address the ecology problems is going to lead to self-sabotage. It's going to lead to behaviors unraveling, behaviors backsliding. Oh, I said behavior again there, didn't I? The process also gives us a chance to test our goal for impact bias, which in really simple terms means a lot of what we think is going to make us happy actually isn't. Now, some people separate out a point here, which is that the outcome must preserve the positive byproducts of the present state. For example, if you wanted to quit smoking, or whatever your positively framed version of that is, but you're also thin and you don't want to become overweight, then this is a prompt to add some context to the new behaviors so that you don't just swap being a smoker for being overweight. I said behavior again, didn't I? The final point is that the outcome should be testable in sensory experience. In other words, you need to build a rich, vivid, see, hear, feel experience, a mental simulation of the outcome and of you achieving it. So whereas SMART looks to describe a goal in terms of words and measurable data, well-formed outcomes is about you being able to build a vivid mental simulation, a vivid mental map in terms of see, hear, feel, of what you're going to create, of what you're going to do, what your behavior is going to be. Which again is kind of like programming your own innate satellite navigation system. And the richer and the more detailed it is, the easier it's going to be to move towards it. So that's the model. And as you can already see, it's a model that's working more with behavior and with hypnotic phenomena than the SMART model. Now, I promised to tell you about how a lot of books are getting this wrong. And the main way is in thinking that this is just a goal-setting system like SMART for external goals. But let me replay to you the full original name of this model, because there's a clue in this. It is the well-formedness conditions for outcomes in therapy. Wow, what a mouthful. It was originally put forward as a set of testable conditions for therapeutic work, for making sure that the therapeutic work is complete and that it will stick rather than unravel. The idea being that if you keep people oriented to what they do want rather than what they don't want, and if you keep people oriented on change that they can own rather than change that they can't, and if you deal with the ecology problems which might otherwise lead to self-sabotage or the change falling apart, and if you build a powerful hypnotic representation of the change, then your work is more likely to hold, it's more likely to stick, less likely to fall apart. In other words, even though this model has been adapted to be a SMART-like goal-setting system, it was originally about building and maintaining new patterns of feelings and behaviors. And the point is, it's not like you spend one session setting a goal using this model. This is a constant reference system for the whole process of creating therapeutic change. It's here to check from the very first session through to the very last session. So to use this, keep orienting to the positive. Keep orienting to the change that you can own. Keep dealing with the ecology problems as they show up. keep reinforcing the hypnotic representation. And that's how this model is more than just a goal-setting model. I also mentioned earlier that some leaders in the field are now calling this something new. They're calling it well-formed directions. And I think that's fabulous because it reminds us that this isn't really about a static outcome. It's not really about defining a finish line to cross. This model really is about building and maintaining new patterns of feelings and behaviors, new habits, new directions of continuous generative learning. And so by changing it from well-formed outcomes to well-formed directions, I think that puts the model back into context, that it's a kind of direction-setting mechanism for sustained change in feelings and behaviors in human beings. Now, just to remind you, if this content was useful to you, please like it. If you have friends who would be interested, please share it. By all means, reply. By all means, comment. But most of all, please do subscribe if you like this content or any content on my theme, which is professional people living and working from a more peaceful ground of being. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to hit the bell so that you get notified of new content. Thank you.